The final hours of Thrall were chaos and fire. The planet's crust broke apart in massive sections as the core destabilized completely. Every available ship, human and Confederation alike, descended through storms and ash clouds to reach the last groups of Thralians. Security Chief Martinez and his team stayed behind to ensure everyone boarded the ships. As the last transport filled with refugees, Martinez counted his people. Everyone on board. He shouted over the roar of the planet's death throes. The shuttle lifted off as the ground beneath it collapsed. All around, the landscape was transforming. Mountains sinking, oceans boiling, the very air becoming toxic with volcanic gases. In orbit, Captain Russell watched the planet's final moments from the command deck. Beside him stood Krevalk, her feathers drooping with exhaustion and grief. "Confirm all ships accounted for," Russell ordered. "Last shuttle docking now," came the reply. "All human and Thralian personnel are off-planet." A cheer went up across the fleet. They had done it, evacuated an entire civilization in less than 3 weeks. Nearly 30 million Thralians had been saved, scattered across hundreds of vessels. "Begin jump preparations," Vice Admiral Rodriguez commanded. All ships set course for Earth. As the fleet prepared to depart, they received one final message from Commander Ziv. "Captain Russell, I must return to Confederation space to report. But know this, what I have witnessed here has changed me. The Confederation's belief that the strong should survive and the weak perish, I no longer accept it." "What will you tell your superiors?" Russell asked. "The truth," Ziv replied simply. "That in your weakness as a young species, you showed more strength than all our advanced civilizations combined." 3 days later, the combined fleet reached Earth. News of the rescue had spread, and humanity had prepared. Temporary settlements were ready across several continents. Medical teams waited to help Thralians adjust to Earth's gravity and atmosphere. 6 months passed. The Thralian refugees began to adapt to life on Earth, establishing communities and preserving their culture. Krevalk worked with Earth's leaders to find a permanent home for her people. Finally, a solution was found. "We've selected a planet in the Tau Ceti system," Dr. Phillips explained during a meeting with Thralian leaders. "It's similar to Thrall in many ways. Our terraforming teams can adapt it fully to your needs within 2 years." On a warm summer day, Krevalk stood before the United Nations on Earth. The chamber was filled with human and Thralian representatives. "1 year ago, my people faced extinction," she began. "We sent our plea to the stars, and only the humans, the newest, the least advanced spacefaring species, came to our aid." She looked around the room, her gaze settling on Captain Russell, Commander Foster, Dr. Phillips, and all the others who had risked everything to save her people. "You showed us that true civilization is measured not by technological advancement, but by compassion. Not by power, but by how that power is used to help others." Word spread beyond Earth. More Confederation ships defected, their crews no longer willing to follow laws that permitted extinction. The old order began to crumble as more species questioned the Confederation's cold principles. 2 years later, a new alliance formed. Earth, Thrall's colony world, and 7 former Confederation species signed a treaty of mutual protection and aid. Their first act was to rescue another endangered species that the Confederation had abandoned. On the colony world that the Thralians now called New Thrall, a human family had been invited to the naming ceremony for a public garden. A young Thralian child approached them, curious. "My parents tell me that when our world was dying, we called for help, and only the humans came," the child said. "Why did you come when no one else would?" The human woman smiled and knelt to meet the child's eyes. "Because that's what makes us human," she said. "When someone calls for help, you run toward them, not away." The child considered this, then asked, "And now we do the same for others?" "Yes," the woman replied. "That's how the universe changes, one act of kindness at a time." Above them, the stars shone in the alien sky, no longer cold and indifferent, but full of new promise. Day and night, the evacuation continued. The human ships flew without rest, carrying thousands of Thralians to safety with each trip. Lieutenant Sev's ship was soon joined by 2 more Confederation vessels, whose crews had decided to help. But time was running out faster than anyone had predicted. On the 4th day after Rodriguez's arrival, a massive shockwave tore through the planet's crust. Half of the eastern continent sank beneath the sea in less than an hour. "We've lost 3 evacuation centers," Security Chief Paul Martinez reported grimly. "The backup teams managed to get most people out, but we still have almost 5 million Thralians on the surface." In the Science Center, Olivia Wright studied the latest readings with growing horror. The planet's core is collapsing. We have less than 24 hours before total planetary failure. Captain Russell called an emergency meeting with all ship captains. "We need to move faster. Every vessel flies at 150% capacity. Safety protocols are suspended. Getting people off this planet is the only priority." Vice Admiral Rodriguez nodded. "I've contacted Earth. They're sending more ships, but they won't arrive in time. We have to complete this evacuation with what we have." The situation on the surface grew chaotic. The remaining Thralians crowded the evacuation points, frightened by the increasingly violent quakes. Paul Martinez and his security teams worked to maintain order. "Stay calm," Martinez called through a loudspeaker. "Everyone will get out. The ships are coming back for all of you." In orbit, Commander Ziv watched the desperate evacuation with conflicted feelings. Despite his orders to remain neutral, the sight of the failing planet moved something in him. He opened a channel to his own superiors. "High Minister, requesting permission to assist with evacuation efforts. The planet is failing faster than expected." "Permission denied," came the cold reply. "You will maintain your position and observe only." Ziv closed the channel, his scales darkening with anger. He looked at his second-in-command. "Prepare a shuttle. I'm going to see this situation for myself." On the surface, Krevalk worked alongside Samantha Hayes, helping to organize the final groups for evacuation. A violent tremor shook the ground, causing a nearby building to collapse. They dove for cover as debris rained down around them. "The next group of ships arrives in 10 minutes, Hayes said, checking her communicator. "We need to get these people to landing zone 3. Suddenly, they spotted a Confederation shuttle landing nearby. Commander Ziv stepped out, looking around at the devastation. Krevalk approached him cautiously. "Have you come to witness our extinction personally, Commander?" she asked bitterly. Ziv's expression remained unreadable. "I came to see what the humans are doing, to understand why they would risk so much for another species." Before she could respond, the ground split open between them. Ziv found himself on the edge of a widening chasm, about to fall in. Without hesitation, Hayes ran forward and pulled him to safety. The Atarian commander looked at her in shock. "You saved me. Why?" "I've tried to stop your mission." "Because that's what we do," Hayes replied simply. "We help when help is needed. It doesn't matter who you are." Ziv stared at her, then at the humans and Thralians working side by side in the chaos. Something changed in his expression. "My ship can carry 2,000, he said finally. "Where should we begin loading?" In orbit, Captain Russell received the most unexpected message of his career. "This is Commander Ziv. The Confederation flagship is joining the evacuation effort. We are beginning to transport civilians now." One by one, the other Confederation ships broke their silence. Their captains, moved by what they had witnessed, chose to help despite their orders. As the final hours approached, a massive ground rupture tore through the capital city. The last evacuation center began to crumble just as the final groups of Thralians were boarding. "We need more time," Martinez shouted into his communicator as the ground beneath him began to break apart. Captain Russell's voice came back, calm despite the chaos. "Hold on. Every ship in the fleet is coming down. We're getting everyone out. No one gets left behind. Everyone on the command deck watched in silence as the Confederation ship broke away from the others. Commander Ziv continued to shout orders at Lieutenant Sev, but the young Etarian had made his choice. "Captain Russell," Sev said, "there are many of us who have been watching what your people are doing for the Thralians. It goes against everything we've been taught about the natural order, but it also feels right." "What are you proposing, Lieutenant?" Russell asked carefully. "My ship has 300 crew members. 218 of us disagree with the Confederation's position. We want to help with the evacuation." A stunned silence fell over the command deck. Chris Morgan leaned close to Russell. "Sir, this could be a trick." "I don't think so," Russell replied quietly. "Lieutenant Sev, we welcome your assistance, but you should know that your actions may be considered treason by your government." "We understand," Sev answered, "but we cannot stand by while an entire species is left to die." As Sev's ship moved to join the human fleet, Commander Ziv ordered the other Confederation vessels to target it. "This is your final warning, Lieutenant. Return to formation or be fired upon." Before Sev could respond, new signals appeared on the long-range scanners. Vice Admiral Rodriguez's fleet had arrived, emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. "This is Vice Admiral Rodriguez of the Earth Alliance," her voice came through clearly. "We are here to assist with the evacuation of Thrall. Any hostile action against our ships or our allies will be met with full defensive measures." Rodriguez's fleet was impressive. 20 ships, including Earth's newest defense vessels. They weren't as advanced as the Confederation ships, but they were numerous and well-armed. "The Confederation ships are powering weapons," Nicole Carter reported tensely. For a moment, it seemed battle was inevitable. Then another signal came through. This one from the Confederation capital. "This is High Minister Krell," announced the senior Etarian. "Commander Ziv, stand down. We will allow the evacuation to proceed, but under official protest. The humans' interference has caused too much attention across our worlds." Ziv's scales paled with shock. "But Minister, our laws are clear." "Our laws did not anticipate the humans," Krell replied coldly. "They have broadcast their rescue efforts to every world in the Confederation. Public opinion is shifting. We will discuss this further when you return." The transmission ended. Commander Ziv stared at the screen in disbelief before finally giving the order. "All ships, power down weapons. Maintain position, but do not interfere with the human vessels." A cheer went up on the command deck. Captain Russell turned to Krevalk. "We can continue the evacuation without fear of attack." Rodriguez's ships joined the evacuation fleet, nearly doubling their capacity. Lieutenant Sev's vessel began taking on Thralian refugees as well, its crew working alongside humans. On the planet's surface, the situation was growing more desperate by the hour. Pilot Maria Johnson flew dangerous, low-altitude shuttles to reach areas cut off by the quakes. "The northern continent is splitting apart," she reported after one mission. "We need to get those people out now." In the temporary command center, Russell, Rodriguez, and the Thralian Council planned the final phase of the evacuation. "With the additional ships, we can evacuate everyone within 8 days, Flight Director Garcia said. "The planet might not last that long," Olivia Wright warned. "The core is becoming increasingly unstable. I give it 5 days at most." Vice Admiral Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Then we work without rest. Every ship flies at maximum capacity. No one gets left behind." As night fell on Thrall, the sky was filled with the lights of shuttles rising to the waiting ships. Among the evacuees was an elderly Thralian scholar who asked Samantha Hayes a question that made her pause. "Why did you humans come when no one else would?" he asked. "What makes your species different?" Hayes looked at the old scholar, then at the human and Thralian crews working side by side. "I don't think we're that different," she said finally. "We just remember what matters most." 5 hours passed with the Confederation ships maintaining their blockade position. On the planet below, the evacuation centers were overflowing with frightened Thralians. Another major quake had struck the eastern continent, forcing thousands more to flee toward the capital. Marine Commander Eric Foster led a team of humans in ground vehicles to reach a cut-off Thralian settlement. The roads were cracked and broken, making the journey dangerous. There are about 300 people trapped in that valley, Foster told his team. The regular transports can't land there because of the terrain. We need to get them out on foot. The human Marines moved through the failing landscape, helping elderly Thralians and carrying children when needed. Foster carried a young Thralian child on his shoulders as they climbed a steep path to reach the waiting shuttles. "Why are you doing this for us?" the child asked him. "Your people don't even know us." Foster smiled despite his exhaustion. "Because it's what humans do. We help each other." In orbit, Captain Russell received an urgent message from communications specialist Nicole Carter. "Sir, I've been monitoring Confederation channels. They're bringing in 2 more warships." Russell's face grew grim. "They're preparing for when Rodriguez arrives." "There's something else," Carter added. "I've been broadcasting footage of the evacuation to all Confederation worlds. Some of their citizens are starting to question their government's decision to let the Thralians die." "Keep broadcasting," Russell ordered. "The more people who see what's happening here, the better." On the Confederation flagship, Commander Ziv received a message from his superiors. "The humans continue to defy us," said Grand Minister Krell, another Atarian. "You are authorized to disable their vessels after Rodriguez arrives. This cannot be allowed to continue." "Understood," Ziv replied, though something troubled him. He had been watching the humans work tirelessly to save a species they had never met before. It contradicted everything the Confederation taught about the natural order. 1 hour before Rodriguez's fleet was due to arrive, a massive groundquake shook the Thralian capital. Buildings that had stood for centuries collapsed in moments. The government complex where many operations were being coordinated began to crumble. Samantha Hayes was helping coordinate evacuees when the ceiling started to fall. She pushed several Thralians toward the exit before a support beam came down. She would have been crushed if Krevalk hadn't pulled her aside at the last moment. "You saved my life," Hayes said as they stumbled outside. "You've been saving my entire species," Krevalk replied simply. The quake accelerated the evacuation timeline. "The planet's core is destabilizing faster than predicted," Olivia Wright reported. "We might have only 10 days left, not 30. Russell made a difficult decision. "We need to evacuate the human support teams. Keep only essential personnel." "No," said Dr. Phillips firmly. "None of us are leaving while Thralians remain on the surface." The other humans nodded in agreement. "Very well," Russell said. "But at the first sign of Confederation aggression, I want all ground teams ready to lift off immediately." As the hour approached for Vice Admiral Rodriguez's arrival, the Confederation ships moved into attack formation. They formed a wall in space, blocking the approach vector for Earth's reinforcements. "They're targeting our shield ships," Chris Morgan reported. "Hold position," Russell ordered. "Don't give them any excuse to fire first." Suddenly, a new voice broke into the communications channel. It was a young Atarian officer from one of the Confederation ships. "This is Lieutenant Sev of the Confederation vessel Unyielding," he said, his voice nervous but determined. "I wish to speak with Captain Russell immediately. There are those among us who do not agree with our orders." Commander Ziv's face appeared on a separate channel, his scales flushed with anger. "Lieutenant Sev, return to your post immediately. This is treason." But something unexpected was happening. The youngest Confederation ship was breaking formation. Commander Ziv's face appeared on the main screen again, his reptilian features showing no emotion. "Captain Russell, you have 1 hour to begin withdrawal, or we will open fire on your vessels." "Those ships carry civilians," Russell replied. "Attacking them would violate galactic law. Interfering with extinction events violates our most sacred principles," Ziv countered. "The strong survive. The weak perish. That is the natural order." After the transmission ended, Strategic Officer Chris Morgan approached Russell. Sir, we need a plan. Their ships outmatch ours in every way. We can't fight them directly, Russell agreed, but we might be able to outmaneuver them. He called his officers together. Our mining ships have strong shields designed to withstand asteroid impacts. We'll position them as shields for our evacuation vessels. That won't hold them off for long, Miller warned. Long enough for help to arrive, I hope, Russell said. Earth has dispatched reinforcements, but they won't get here for 6 days. On the 3rd day of the standoff, a massive earthquake shook the Thralian capital. Buildings collapsed, and fissures opened in the streets. Chief Engineer Olivia Wright's face appeared on Russell's communicator. Captain, the plasma anchors are failing. The planet's breaking up faster than we predicted. Krivok rushed into the command center, her feathers covered in dust. 3 southern cities are gone. Millions are now heading to the evacuation centers. Russell turned to Flight Director Garcia. How many can we get off-planet today? Maybe 2 million if we pack the ships beyond safety limits, Garcia replied. Do it, ordered Russell, and tell all captains to prepare for potential Confederation interference. In the medical center, Dr. Karen Phillips worked with Thralian doctors to treat the injured. These people can't survive in these conditions much longer, she told Samantha Hayes. And we need to ensure they can adapt to Earth's atmosphere and gravity. Hayes nodded. The first groups we evacuated have already reached Earth. They're adjusting well in the temporary settlements. A loud alarm blared through the complex. Confederation ships are moving into attack position, called out a communications officer. On the command deck, Russell watched as the 3 sleek warships positioned themselves to block the evacuation route. They're targeting our largest transport, Chris Morgan reported. Russell grabbed the communicator. All ships, execute pattern Delta. Mining vessels, move to defensive positions. The bulky mining ships move to form a protective barrier between the Confederation vessels and the transports loaded with Thralian refugees. Commander Ziv is hailing us, the communications officer said. Ziv's face appeared, now showing clear anger. This is your final warning, Captain. Move your ships or... He was interrupted as a new signal cut in. A woman in an Earth Alliance uniform appeared on screen. This is Vice Admiral Diane Rodriguez of the Earth Alliance fleet. I am inbound with 20 vessels and will arrive at Thrall in 6 hours. Any hostile action against human ships or Thralian evacuees will be considered an act of war against Earth. Ziv looked surprised. You would risk war for these creatures? Without hesitation, Rodriguez replied. Earth stands with those who need help, regardless of species or status. After the transmission ended, Russell turned to Krivok. We've bought some time, but we need to move faster. Your people need to be ready to board as soon as ships are available. Krivok nodded. We will be ready. But what happens when Admiral Rodriguez arrives? Will the Confederation actually fire on your ships? I don't know, Russell admitted. But I know humanity won't abandon you, whatever happens next. As the day ended, human crews worked tirelessly, loading Thralians onto every available vessel. From orbit, the Confederation ships washed, weapons ready. The standoff had begun. In 6 hours, Earth's reinforcements would arrive. But the ground beneath them continued to shake, reminding everyone that their greatest enemy was time itself. The meeting room grew tense as Captain Russell and Commander Ziv stared at each other through the screen. The Atarian's scales shifted color slightly, showing his anger. This planetary system falls under Confederation jurisdiction, Ziv said. The natural extinction of lesser species is not to be interfered with. It is our law. Russell crossed his arms. We're not members of your confederation. Your laws don't apply to us. You risk serious consequences, human, Ziv warned. The Thralians have been deemed evolutionarily unfit to survive. That is the Confederation's final decision. Krivok stepped forward, her feathers bristling. We are standing right here, Commander. We can hear you discussing our extinction, as if it's a simple policy matter. The Atarian barely glanced at her. I will give you 3 Earth days to withdraw your ships. After that, we will enforce Confederation law." The screen went dark. "What does he mean by enforce?" Samantha Hayes asked. "The Confederation has warships," Geartak explained, "much more advanced than anything you have." Captain Russell turned to his officers. "We need to speed up the evacuation." Chief Engineer Olivia Wright, "How quickly can we get people off planet?" A woman with short brown hair and tired eyes stepped forward. "If we work non-stop and use every available ship, maybe 20 days. That's rushing everything. The planet might not last that long." Pete Johnson reminded them. "My readings show increasing instability. We have 30 days at most before complete collapse. And now we have the Confederation threat," Miller added. Russell nodded grimly. "Then we work faster. Olivia, can you try to slow down the planet's deterioration? Buy us more time." "I can try," she said. "I'll need to work with the Thralian scientists." "Do it," Russell ordered. "Samantha, coordinate with the Thralian Council on evacuation priorities. Commander Miller, get the fleet ready for rapid loading and departure." For the next 2 days, humans and Thralians worked together desperately. In the Science Center, Olivia Wright and a team of Thralian experts tried to stabilize the most dangerous fault lines using modified mining equipment from the human ships. "If we place plasma anchors here and here," Wright explained, pointing to a map, "we might slow the continental drift for a few extra days." In another part of the capital, Flight Director Alan Garcia coordinated the massive evacuation effort. Lines of Thralians boarded human ships, carrying only essential belongings. "Family groups stay together," Garcia instructed his team. "Medical cases get priority on the hospital ships." Krivok moved among her people, offering encouragement. Many Thralians were afraid of leaving their world, even as it crumbled around them. She spotted Samantha Hayes helping an elderly Thralian couple onto a transport. "Your people work without rest," Krivok said when Hayes approached. "We're running against time," Hayes replied. She looked up as the ground trembled slightly. "And something tells me Commander Ziv won't give us the full 3 days he promised." She was right. On the morning of the 3rd day, 3 Confederation warships appeared in orbit around Thrall. Their sleek designs made the human vessels look crude by comparison. "This is Commander Ziv of the Confederation Security Force," came the transmission to all ships. "You have ignored our warning. The Thralian extinction event will proceed as nature intended. All human vessels must leave immediately or face military action." On the command deck of his ship, Captain Russell called an emergency meeting with his officers and the Thralian Council. "We've evacuated less than 4 million people," Miller reported. "We need more time. Their weapons can disable our ships with a single hit," Lisa Young, the diplomatic officer, added. "We can't fight them." Russell looked around the room, then at Krivok. "We didn't come all this way to give up now. Contact Earth. Tell them we need reinforcements." He turned to face the display showing the Confederation warships. "And tell Commander Ziv we refuse his order. The evacuation continues." Krivok stared at the human on the screen. The story said humans were emotional, unpredictable, and barely able to reach nearby stars. Yet here they were, responding to a call that advanced civilizations had ignored. "We thank you for your response," she said carefully, "but our situation may be beyond your abilities. Our entire planet is dying." Commander Jack Miller nodded. "We understand. We've detected the geological instability from orbit. Our ship is small, but Earth is sending more help. I'd like to meet with your leaders to discuss immediate assistance." 2 hours later, a small shuttle landed at the government complex. Commander Miller stepped out with 2 other humans. One was a tall woman with golden hair tied back tightly, and the other was a dark-skinned man carrying equipment. "This is Cultural Officer Samantha Hayes and Science Officer Pete Johnson," Miller explained as they were led to the council chamber. The council members watched the humans with mixtures of hope and doubt. These beings looked so fragile compared to other spacefaring species. Their skin lacked scales or protective coverings, and they moved somewhat awkwardly in Thrall's lighter gravity. Samantha Hayes spoke first. "We received your distress call 18 days ago. It took us that long to reach you at our maximum speed." "Why did you come when the Confederation refused?" asked Jirtak bluntly. Hayes looked surprised by the question. "Because you needed help. We couldn't ignore that." Miller added, "Earth only achieved reliable interstellar travel 15 years ago. We're not part of the Confederation. We're exploring and establishing relations with other worlds." "Our long-range scanners confirmed your planet's condition," Pete Johnson said, activating a holographic display. "You have less time than you thought. Maybe 6 weeks until critical failure." A heavy silence fell over the room. Krivok gripped the edge of the table. "Can your people help us?" she asked finally. "Yes," Miller said. "Earth is sending a fleet of ships, every vessel we can spare. They'll arrive in 9 days." Maraven, the young counselor, looked confused. "But why would you do this? We have nothing to offer Earth." "The Confederation said we have no strategic value." Samantha Hayes frowned. "That's not how humans see things. Your lives have value simply because you're alive. We don't need a strategic reason to help." For the next week, the humans worked alongside Thralians. The Horizons crew helped stabilize critical infrastructure and prepared landing zones for the coming fleet. Pete Johnson worked with Thralian scientists to better understand the planet's condition. Krivok often found herself working with Samantha Hayes, who learned Thralian customs quickly. They were in the evacuation planning center when Hayes received a message. "The fleet has just entered the system," Hayes said, smiling. "Captain Ben Russell is leading 53 ships." When the first human vessels appeared in the sky above the capital city, crowds of Thralians gathered to watch. They were not the sleek, graceful ships of the Confederation. These were bulkier, showing signs of hasty conversion. Cargo ships, science vessels, and even mining platforms had been rapidly modified to carry passengers. The largest ship landed first. Captain Ben Russell was older than Miller, with streaks of gray in his beard. He met with the council immediately. "We can evacuate approximately 28 million people," he explained. "It will be tight, and conditions won't be comfortable, but we can save most of your population." "Where will you take them?" Jirtak asked. "Earth has prepared temporary settlements. We're also looking at suitable colony worlds within our territory." A warning alarm interrupted the meeting. A communications officer rushed in. "A Confederation vessel has entered the system," she reported. "They're demanding to speak with our leaders and the humans immediately." On the main screen appeared the stern face of an Atarian commander. The reptilian features showed clear displeasure. "This is Commander Ziv of the Confederation Security Force," the Atarian said. "Humans, you are interfering in a natural extinction event. The Confederation has deemed the Thralian situation to be hands-off. Remove your vessels from this system immediately." Captain Russell stepped forward, his expression hardening. "We're not going anywhere." The sky above Thrall burned orange and red as another quake shook the dying planet. Dust clouds rose from crumbling mountains in the distance. In the capital city's central tower, Counselor Krivok watched her world fall apart through tall crystal windows. Her feathers drooped against her slender frame. She had not slept in 3 days. "The eastern continent reported another major collapse," said her aide, placing a data tablet on the curved desk. 2 million more displaced. The temporary shelters won't hold much longer." Krivok nodded slowly. The numbers had lost meaning days ago. Half their population of 30 million was homeless now. Soon, they would all be without a planet. "The council is ready when you are," the aide said softly. In the great chamber, the remaining 11 council members waited around a round table. Once they had been 15, but 4 seats remained empty, their occupants lost to the disasters that had plagued Thrall for the past 6 months. The room fell silent as Krivok entered. "The final analysis confirms what we feared," she said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "Our planet has 3 months at most before total collapse. The core is destabilizing beyond repair." An older counselor named Jirtak shook his head. But the evacuation ships can save perhaps 1 million of our people, Krivok finished. Our technology was never meant for this. We are traders and scholars, not space travelers. The Thralians had achieved space flight centuries ago, but their ships were small and designed for short journeys to nearby trading posts. They had never needed more. Their peaceful civilization had focused on art, science, and philosophy instead of military or expansion. "We must send the call," said Maraven, the youngest counselor. "The Galactic Confederation has ignored our diplomatic requests for aid, but they cannot ignore a formal distress signal." Several counselors shifted uncomfortably. The Confederation, an alliance of 26 advanced species, had made it clear that the Thralians were too insignificant to warrant emergency assistance. Their small avian species held no strategic value. "They will ignore us again," said Jirtak bitterly. "We have nothing they want." Krivok stepped to the center of the room. "We have no choice but to try. I will send the call myself." In the communications tower, Krivok stood before the planetary broadcast system. The massive array could send their message across hundreds of light years. She adjusted her formal robes and faced the recording device. "This is Counselor Krivok of Thrall. Our planet is dying. Geological instability will make our world uninhabitable within 3 months. Our population of 30 million faces extinction. We lack sufficient evacuation capacity and request immediate assistance from any civilization who can help. We offer everything we have in exchange for the lives of our people. Please respond." She ended the recording and turned to the communications officer. "Send it on all frequencies, all languages. Keep sending until someone answers." The message shot outward from Thrall, racing across the emptiness of space. Days passed with no response. Then weeks. The quakes grew worse. The northern continent split in two as massive fissures opened across its surface. In her private quarters, Krivok watched the latest damage reports with growing despair. A month had passed. The Confederation worlds had officially declined to respond, citing natural evolutionary processes. Other independent worlds remained silent. As the sun set on the 30th day since the distress call, an alert sounded through the government complex. Krivok rushed to the communications center, her heart pounding. "We've received a response," the night officer said, his voice filled with disbelief. "A ship has entered our system and is hailing us." The Confederation changed their minds. Krivok asked. "No," the officer replied, checking the unfamiliar signature. "It's not from any Confederation world. The ship identifies itself as the horizon from Earth. They say they're humans." Krivok blinked in confusion. Humans, the primitive species from the outer rim, the ones barely capable of interstellar travel. The communication screen flickered to life, showing a pink-skinned being with short brown fur on top of its head. It wore a blue uniform with an unfamiliar insignia. "This is Commander Jack Miller of the United Earth Alliance vessel Horizon," the human said. "We received your distress call. We're here to help."